For the first time in more than 40 years, Montreal is not growing stronger. It is slowly beginning to empty out. And the most shocking part is not that people are leaving. The real shock is who is leaving. These are not retirees moving south for warmer weather. These are the people who were supposed to build the future of the city. Young professionals, engineers, software developers, designers, university graduates who believed Montreal was one of the last great affordable cities in North America. But now, every single month, thousands of people are quietly packing their apartments, loading moving trucks, and heading toward Ontario, Alberta, and sometimes even the United States. The cafes in Plateau that were once filled with freelancers and startup founders now have empty tables. Downtown condo towers that once had waiting lists now display for rent signs for months. And the most dangerous part is this does not look temporary anymore. According to recent population records, Montreal has started losing a large number of working-age residents to other provinces. Economists say this trend is accelerating faster than expected, and by 2026 the situation could become much worse. But the question is simple: why are people leaving? Most people immediately blame housing prices. And yes, housing is absolutely part of the problem. Just a few years ago, a decent apartment in Montreal could cost around $1,100 a month. Today, many of those same apartments cost more than double that amount. For middle-class professionals, life in the city is becoming harder every year. But there is one problem with blaming housing alone: Toronto is more expensive. Vancouver is far more expensive. Even Calgary has seen huge rent increases. So if housing was the only issue, people would simply move to cheaper neighborhoods inside Quebec. Instead, they are leaving the province completely. The real answer is much more complicated. Over the last few years, Quebec introduced stricter language laws that dramatically changed how many businesses operate. The government wanted to protect French language and culture, but for international companies and tech firms, the new regulations created major uncertainty. Imagine running a software company where the entire code base is written in English. Your employees come from Brazil, India, Germany, and the United States. Meetings are held in English because the global tech industry operates that way. Then suddenly, new regulations force businesses to restructure internal communication, documentation, and hiring policies around strict French language compliance. Large corporations can sometimes survive those changes. Smaller startups often cannot. And that is exactly what started happening. Many companies did not publicly announce they were leaving Quebec. They simply changed their headquarters to Ontario. They opened new offices somewhere else and quietly stopped hiring inside Montreal. When businesses leave, talent follows them. At one point, Montreal was considered one of the most exciting tech cities in North America. Artificial intelligence research, gaming studios, and creative startups gave the city international attention. Ubisoft Montreal became one of the strongest symbols of that ambition. Young developers from around the world dreamed of working there. But during 2023 and 2024, the company slowed its expansion significantly. Industry analysts pointed toward growing operational pressure, rising costs, and increasing difficulty attracting international talent. Under the new environment, and the same pattern appeared across the tech sector. Smaller studios and startups began relocating to Ontario or British Columbia. Some moved quietly without media attention. Others simply stopped investing in Quebec entirely. The financial sector also started making similar calculations. Several institutions shifted departments and back office operations toward Toronto. None of these decisions looked catastrophic individually. A studio reduces hiring. A startup relocates. A company moves one department. But together, they create something much larger. A city slowly losing the industries that once gave ambitious people a reason to stay. And once people begin believing the future exists somewhere else, the damage becomes psychological as much as economic. That may be the most dangerous part of Montreal's current crisis. Because cities do not collapse overnight, they decline when hope slowly disappears. The demographic data is already showing the warning signs. Most of the people leaving Montreal are between 25 and 44 years old. That is the exact age group every modern economy depends on. These are the workers who pay taxes, open businesses, buy homes, raise families, and keep urban neighborhoods alive. When that population leaves, every system begins to feel pressure. Schools lose enrollment, small businesses lose customers, public services lose tax revenue, restaurants struggle to survive, entire neighborhoods begin changing. Some parts of Montreal are already showing visible cracks. Griffintown, once one of the city's hottest luxury districts, now has condo vacancies developers rarely discuss publicly. Units that were expected to sell instantly are sitting empty for months. The Plateau tells a different version of the same story. The neighborhood that once represented Montreal's cultural soul is now seeing rising commercial vacancies. Restaurants and cafes that survived for years are suddenly shutting down. Under inflation, labor costs, and declining customer traffic, commercial vacancies are often one of the earliest warning signs of urban decline. And right now, those signs are becoming impossible to ignore. Even the suburbs are starting to feel unstable. During the pandemic, Many families moved towards South Shore and out of suburban areas searching for more space and cheaper housing. But once offices reopened, long commutes became exhausting. A growing number of people decided that if they were already moving farther away, they might as well leave Quebec entirely. Ontario became the obvious destination. Immigration has added another layer to the crisis. Quebec operates its own immigration selection system, separate from much of Canada. The province strongly prioritizes French-speaking immigrants, which politically makes sense inside Quebec, but economically, the situation is becoming complicated. Montreal urgently needs highly skilled workers who can integrate quickly into industries like technology, engineering, healthcare, and finance. Instead, many internationally trained professionals face years of delays before their qualifications are recognized. An experienced engineer or doctor can arrive in Montreal fully qualified, yet spend 2 or 3 years trapped in bureaucratic processes before working professionally again. Meanwhile, Ontario offers faster pathways and larger job markets. The result is predictable. Many immigrants arrive in Quebec first, then move to Ontario a few years later. In other words, Quebec attracts talent, but Ontario often receives the long-term economic benefit. International students are also leaving at rates that would have seemed impossible only a few years ago. Montreal once attracted students because it offered relatively affordable tuition, vibrant culture, and strong universities. But policy changes, rising costs, and uncertainty around post-graduation work opportunities have changed the equation completely. Many graduates now leave immediately after finishing school. And then there is the emotional side of this story. The Anglophone exodus. English-speaking Montrealers have been leaving the city slowly for decades, but the current pace feels different. The most surprising part is that many families who stayed during the political tensions of the 1970s and 1980s are now watching their own children leave permanently. Recent university alumni tracking showed that fewer graduates are choosing to remain in Quebec long-term. These are not people who failed in Montreal. They've succeeded there. They built careers, developed networks, gained experience, and then decided another city offered a stronger future. That is what makes this situation so serious. When educated young professionals emotionally disconnect from a city, rebuilding becomes extremely difficult. Still, this is not a story about a city dying. Montreal remains one of the most beautiful and culturally unique cities in North America. Its architecture, festivals, food scene, and artistic identity are still admired around the world. People continue to love the city deeply. The real question is whether Montreal can still compete for the next generation of ambitious workers and entrepreneurs. Experts say recovery is absolutely possible, but recovery would require difficult political and economic decisions, more flexibility for international industries, faster credential recognition, stronger investment strategies for high-growth sectors, and most importantly, an honest conversation about the balance between cultural protection and economic competitiveness. Because denying the problem is becoming harder every year. History shows that cities can recover from serious decline. Pittsburgh rebuilt after the collapse of the steel industry. Leipzig in Germany transformed itself after losing huge portions of its population. Montreal could absolutely do the same. But time matters. Right now, the city is facing a silent test. Every young engineer, software developer, entrepreneur, immigrant professional, and university graduate is asking the same question. Should I build my future here or somewhere else? And at the moment, too many people are choosing somewhere else.